would take at least on average income earner 2.5 to 3 years to save for a single deposit, and that too like $500,000 loan, right? So why would you not pay a higher interest rate? Why would you not use LMI? Why would you not use all of these things? Because the speed of entry is what matters the most, right? It's not so much about entering it with a bang for a buck or going it with a big bang or having the biggest property on the block, right? It's all about, hey, can I enter the property market right now? Can I get the borrowing right now? And can I do it in a way that's sustainable, that I don't kill myself or I don't kill my lifestyle? Co-living properties can generate almost $140,000 in passive income and net of $40,000 in passive income after mortgage repayments, and they sit in an average yield of about 10%. Hello and welcome to another episode of Help Me Buy Property podcast. Today is one of those podcasts which is a very long overdue podcast. This is with Aaron Christie from Atelier Wealth, and we're going to discuss why investors should not be focused on rate-only loans. Now, this is an amazing topic because it's very close to my heart. As an astute investor myself, why is rate always secondary versus property? Let's do drum rolls in bringing Aaron into the show. Aaron, how are you today?
Hey, Mark. How you doing, mate? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. Like this has been one of the longest wait for me to bring you on the podcast. So thank you for coming on. Tell us about yourself first. Let's start there before we go down the topic, because I want the listeners to basically learn your story. I think it's just such a powerful story. So.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Look, Schlenken boy, Aussie raised. What do we got? Yeah, lived in Sydney my whole life. Two brothers. They do amazing stuff as well. My younger brother, I'm probably known affectionately these days as Sean's brother.
Really?
He's got a number of restaurants across Sydney. Does exceptionally well.
What's the name of the restaurant?
He's got a few. So one's called Colombo Social. It's a Schlenken. They're all social enterprises.
Okay.
Colombo Social, Kiev Social, Kabul Social. And my older brother, he's a CFO for an aged care large business as well up in Brizzy. So being in corporate was awesome. Like I loved it. Yeah. I had a background in marketing. So my career took me from Wizard Home Loans through to Commonwealth Bank, for example, and Metcash, like IGA back in the day. Yeah. So for me, being in corporate was a bit like a square peg in a round hole. I really enjoyed some parts of it. And then there's other parts. And I'm like, I just couldn't see myself being there long term. I was working around mortgage brokers, and it was kind of a timely, I don't know, Bernadette, my wife and I, we went away and we just thought, look, what are we trying to do here long term? I think some people may have that when they have kids. We had that when we got married. Yeah. That real penny drop moment. And she says, hey, brokers, why don't you...
How long ago was this?
10 years.
Wow.
The bank 10 years. And
and so you were working as a marketing person?
Marketing manager for home loans.
Home loans, okay.
For Commonwealth Bank. So I knew the product.
Yeah.
I knew how it worked inside a bank as a really...
Of course.
The number one money earner for a bank, right? So I got to see that side of the coin. And because of distribution, we worked a lot with mortgage brokers. And then Bernie's like, become a broker. I'm like, I didn't go to uni twice to become a mortgage broker. It's a bit embarrassing to become a broker. But I'm like, I worked around some really good brokers. And I guess at the bank, you work with the top echelon of brokers. And they had pretty good lives. pretty good cats, making a difference in people's lives. And I thought, man, I'll scratch this itch.
Yeah.
And so I jumped out. I had a mortgage choice franchise for just over a year.
Yeah.
Before we knew that wasn't going to serve us long term, and then we kind of exited that, started our own business. So Atelier Wealth has been going on for 8 years.
Amazing.
And in that journey, 8 years, roller coaster, mate. 2 kids.
Amazing.
COVID, probably going bunkers. We've bought properties in the meantime.
Yeah.
Team's grown. I think we were chatting before. Like life is very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Designed that way as well. Still work hard, but I think now I think I've got a greater purpose and a greater mission as well.
Yeah. And I think, if you allow me, I think it makes total sense, right? A lot of the entrepreneurs, they go down this route of, hey, I want to leave a legacy behind. But then it always comes down to legacy for who and what. You're trying to build a legacy while killing yourself. You're not enjoying the journey, right? And so as an entrepreneur myself, I tend to always think about, okay, I want to build a legacy, but I want to enjoy the journey.
I think you're also like conditioned that it's got to be hard.
Yes.
Right? Because if it's easy, you're doing something wrong in this journey. 100%. So I feel like you're almost conditioned to go, this has got to be a struggle. And
coming back to the topic, lower rate versus higher borrowing capacity. I think this is such a question, especially when you talk to a first-time investor, then an astute investor, and that journey of going from, hey, I want a better rate to, hey, I want better borrowing capacity. It's I call it this, the journey of you being poor saving mindset to you journey of being you thinking about high net worth.
Yeah.
Talk us through that. What is this mentality? Have you come across a lot of people talking about?
It's the bane of my existence, mate, isn't it? As a mortgage broker. Sometimes I think I'm in the wrong profession because I'm the worst mortgage broker in that sense. Just going, I don't know, mate. Just get the loan and go and buy property. And we'll talk about this, but who cares about what the rate is? Now, I'm not being flippant and go and get an 8-9% interest rate. That's not what I'm saying here. You're not buying a loan. You're buying a home.
Yeah.
You're buying an investment property. That's the product.
Yeah.
That's the actual product. The property increases in value. The loan, you can switch that out 3 months after settlement and get a new loan, right? So I feel like I'm a real martyr for this conversation because every other mortgage broker is like, I'll get you the lowest rate. And here I am going, actually, you've missed the point.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation that lands with experienced investors.
Yeah.
It's a conversation that lands with a lot of my clients that are higher income earners because they just know that, hey, there's a cost of doing business. I want to keep going. I've done very well in property. I don't even remember what my first interest rate was. All I know is that it doubled in value 5 years later and I can pull the equity out and go and buy more properties.
Yeah.
So they're very outcome driven. Whereas when I've got a first time investor, they're so conditioned. The first thing they'll do is look at the interest rate, the fees.
And the 3 comparisons that the broker would say.
There's got to be 3 lenders. There's got to be the interest rates and there's got to be the fees. And they're just so conditioned to, I tell the team, you can do all this hard work and the first thing they're going to look at is those couple of numbers.
Yeah.
And our job is then to get them to zoom out a little bit and go, what's the most important here? Because if we can get you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 difference in borrowing capacity, and I'll talk about how in a second, that will buy you a superior asset. That superior asset will outperform a cheaper property or a property that was on a main street or 4 better instead of a 3 better, for example, or has the upside to do a duplex, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're not buying the loan. And so to try and shift this, because banks have got, and I know this because I worked in a bank in marketing, the banks have got hundreds of millions of dollars combined to condition people to buy on rate. And that's supported by 18,000 mortgage brokers across the country. A bulk of them is just rate flingers. And there's a cohort of brokers that are going, hey, mate, we're getting the outcome, which is the property.
If I play the devil's advocate here, and we have all been the first time investors, right? And I remember those days where I've asked probably the stupid question as well that, hey, the rate is way too high. Protecting the mindset. And I'm saying there is a big mindset shift that needs to happen all the time. Every investor needs to basically go through this cycle. And I think a lot of the education is basically there to help them.
Don't get yourself taken on a ride by property spookers, so-called property investment advisors, or buyer's agents who are selling house and land packages or off-the-plan properties or apartments. Get yourself copy of this book called The Millennial's Guide to Property Investing. This book is not just for millennials. The title suggests, but it's actually the most advanced way of investing in property. This book will relate to your clients, your colleagues, and other business owners. There are so many property spookers out there who have come out of the woodwork over the last 3 to 5 years. And there is so much misinformation out there that I had to write a book about all the F-ups that people can actually avoid in order to be super successful in the property investment journey. Some of these are really easy to identify, but they are so costly to fix once these mistakes are made. So it's a short book. It's easy to read. It has a lot of stories. It has a lot of examples, and it is a true guide for people who wants to do it themselves. My name is Moxin Reza. This is my story, and a lot of you will relate to parts of this story if you're not born in the riches and if you're trying to build a property portfolio that can last generations and help you improve your lifestyle along the way. So I give you a chance to come out there and have a read. Be kind, stay safe, keep smiling, keep investing, and please do check out the book.
The first and the foremost thing that as an investor always thinks is, how does this going to impact my cash flow, right? And so that's where they are basically purely coming from, right? And where it was the penny drop moment for me was, hey, this is a business, so you need to treat it as a business. This is just an expense, regardless of whatever that is. If the outcome is ROI is better, just move on and just go ahead with this. And I learned this from a property manager. And I still remember this, and I was buying my second property. And I was haggling that property manager that you need to give me 5% rate. And he was, I think, sitting at 5.5%, 6%. I don't even remember. But he said this to me. He's like 0.5%, like you're fighting over 1% of property management. Like, really? Mm-hmm. Like, why do you care? Like, seriously, treat this as a business and you'll grow so much. And I think that was the penny drop moment for me. I was like, he's right. If you take the rent, I was getting I think $290 a week in rent, and I was literally fighting for $10. Right? I was you think about it, you're going back hindsight, but that makes total sense. You're basically the opportunity cost is the important factor here, right? That's what we're basically relating to, right? So I understand why they're focused on the rates. But what I fail to understand is, why don't they learn and basically move into, hey, this makes sense. We should never basically go down the path. People basically get stuck to these things, right? No, I need a better rate and I'll go down that path. And so help people understand why is rate not so much important, and what does it do if you go for a higher rate?
Yeah. And we're talking about 0.05% in some examples, right? And so what they call 5 basis points.
Yeah.
Why isn't it important? We'll zoom out and just go, right, do you get better borrowing capacity with another lender? Because not all lenders are created equally. So when you do a lender calculator, it's you can put the exact same income, the exact same expenses as a household, everything in there, and you'll get 20 different results from 20 different banks about how their serviceability works. And that's our job. That's our job as a broker, is to decipher that and going, here's the top lenders and here's why we're going to these banks. So you do that. But then it's but show me lower rates. I'm but you don't want the lower rates because you're going to lose $50,000 in borrowing capacity. And again, that takes some context and it takes some explanation as well. Yeah. And then there's levers that you can start to pull. And this is when you start to really, I guess, earn your stripes as a broker, going, but you're lugging around this HEX debt, for example, or that car loan is killing your borrowing capacity. We'll come to car loans in a second. Or the credit card, a $5,000 credit card will reduce your borrowing capacity by $30,000.
Wow. But
I can guarantee you, and you can ask my team, probably 80% of the times we tell people about closing credit cards, oh, no, not really. It's dude, which is more important? This damn credit card for these minuscule points that you'll get, or a property that increases and is an income producing asset?
Just get a new one. What's the harm in closing it off?
Mate, and getting because the banks have got all the direct debits come out of this credit card, or they'll throw some bonus points to this person. And again, I know it because I worked in marketing in a bank. They're sinking their claws into your wallet 100%. And making it extremely hard for you to move banks. So this is, again, I feel like a real martyr on this message, going, I'm a lone wolf because no one's talking about it.
I used to be the same person when it comes to credit cards, right? It's such a painful process on changing direct debits, right?
That's exactly it.
It is painful
Just
process.
What? Don't use a credit card.
100%. And that's what I was about to say, right?
Give me the credit card. I'll cut it up and now deal with it. That's what that if you want to get far as an investor,
Yeah.
you got to lose the baggage.
Yes.
You got to think differently. You got to act differently. If you're serious, and this is when I know people are serious about investing in property, when I'm feeling like that car, the car loan that you've got is murdering your borrowing capacity. I would guarantee you maybe 10%, and this is where you get to like the 1% of property investors, there's a handful of people that will sell that car. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Brand new Golf GTI years ago. Brand new Golf. I can't even remember what the repayments were on it. Status symbol, sure thing, nice car, sure thing. I walked into a dealership, traded it in, walked out with a check and like a 15-year-old car, which I still drive today.
Yeah.
Because I'm serious about investing in property.
100%.
So which is more important? Like show me, tell me, prove it to me that if you're serious about investing in property, will you do whatever it takes? And if you're arguing over like $20 a month, I guarantee I'll find you $20 in your budget that you could probably cut that out of somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? So again, it's just trying to help people shift perspectives on this to go, I'm not here trying to fling a higher rate. All I'm trying to say is zoom out. You're not buying a loan. Focus on what you're doing. The job is to get pre-approved, to then speak to someone like yourself to go and source a property.
Yeah.
At that point, you don't even know how much the exact purchase price is. You don't know exactly what the yield's going to be at that point.
Yeah.
You've got some pretty good ideas and pretty good indications on numbers to work with. So when you're speaking to your broker, it's like, do you have to close that credit card yet? Not yet, but just know that may be a condition for a formal approval. Okay, great. Can we think about paying out the car loan? And is that payable through savings? And is that going to change your borrowing capacity? What about the deposit? So there's so many implications that it has as a first-time investor. The stakes get a little bit high. And that we're just talking about trying to get to the point that we're getting pre-approved. We haven't even spoken about the whole home buying, the home approval process yet, which is another beast altogether.
Yeah.
Because that tests people's patience. And the bank's asking for more information.
Yeah.
That puts people offside.
Yeah.
Man.
And it's deceiving people's mindset, right? You know, majority of the times where people are basically going down the path is they don't know what they don't know. So they don't know that the property is going to grow in value because they don't believe, because they have never seen it, right?
That's
and
right.
so it's always that first hope. Where
But we're saying as experience, and
Correct.
I'd say success leaves clues. So we're saying as experienced investors, you're going, you missed the point. If you think it's about the low rate, if you think it's about, the credit card's inconvenient, we're saying, hey, mate, but the other side, it's worth it. When you've bought well and the property is now increasing in value and there's equity to go again, at that point, the penny drops and they're like,
100%.
they're committed.
And it all comes down to like savings mindset, right? I always say this out loud, that it would take at least on average income earner 2.5 to 3 years to save for a single deposit, and that to like $500,000 loan, right? So why would you not pay a higher interest rate? Why would you not use LMI? Why would you not use all of these things? Because the speed of entry is what matters the most, right? It's not so much about entering in with a bang for a buck or going in with a big bang or having the biggest property on the block, right? It's all about, hey, can I enter the property market right now? Can I get the borrowing right now? And can I do it in a way that's sustainable, that I don't kill myself or I don't kill my lifestyle?
That's right. That's exactly right. And that sounds, again, rational. You're preaching to the convert at that point, because the people that get it, the ones that are already in the market. To the people that are on the outside, it's like the more you hear this, the more you can plug into a podcast, the more you can do your own research. And it doesn't matter which buyer's agent, which broker, which accountant, which financial planner, when we're all singing from the same hymn sheet telling you that this is all the stuff that really matters, you're going to hear it a couple of times and go, okay, I can understand that. You know, I've got to like listen to these people as well.
Yeah. And interest rates, like when you talk about interest rates, and you're not talking about big numbers, right? LMI or lender's mortgage insurance, on the other hand, is a big number that basically sticks right in front of you, right? And talk to the users and listeners a bit about that. Why should you consider taking your LVR to 88%, for example? And what is this magical 88% that everyone talks about? And being comfortable around that, knowing that the value is going to go up and the LVR is going to drop once you revalue the property.
So lender's mortgage insurance is when you don't have the 20% deposit. We kind of know that. But there's what they call LMI bands.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a 15% deposit, so an 85% loan to value ratio, that's considered quite safe because you're nearly there with the 20% deposit. Yeah. So the mortgage insurance is less.
Yeah.
10% deposit, which isn't exactly true because I hear all these people talk on YouTube, like, you need a 10% deposit. No, you actually need a 12% deposit.
Yeah.
Because the LMI is usually 2%.
Yeah.
So you need to be at 88% to then add on the 2% to be under 90%, because under 90%,
Yeah.
you then get your you get your repayments at interest only. If you go above 90% loan to value ratio, you then have to pay P&I with a lot of lenders, with most lenders on an investment loan. And then there's some banks, Commonwealth Bank will do a 95% loan to value ratio, which means you don't need a 5% deposit. You need almost a 7 and 8% deposit because you need to add on the mortgage insurance.
Yeah.
Okay. And at 95%, you have to be P&I. Yeah. So these are just all these little nuances as well. When you hear this going, oh, I got a 10% deposit. I'm like, yeah, cool. But we have to add on 2%. And now you're at 92%.
Yeah.
So you either have to drop back the purchase price or accept the value might be P&I.
Yeah.
Or find the extra cash to then get to sub 90%, including LMI, which is why the 12% becomes this real sweet spot, because you can get into the property with a 12% deposit
with interest only
repayments under 90%, because the LMI would just balloon up after 10% deposit, and that's where you get these little sweet spots, these little bands in mortgage insurance. So the way I explain it is, okay, so it's an insurance product. A 5% deposit is the equivalent of like trying to insure a WRX as an 25-year-old in the suburbs. Yeah. Dangerous. So the insurance on that's through the roof.
Yeah.
Whereas an 85% land, that's 15% deposit, it's like driving a Camry, right? Like or a Commodore or something. The insurance on that's cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the banks will do the LMI breakdown based on how risky or how safe that loan is based on its deposit. Have I explained that clearly?
Yeah, 100%, yes. And I think that's what it comes down to. And I think from a viewers and listeners perspective, like paying LMI or a higher rate does not really matter, provided that you are considering what is the good debt and what is the bad debt. As you mentioned clearly, when you talk about credit cards and you talk about car loans, it's not so much about not having the credit card. It's about having that discipline of managing a credit card as well. Like a lot of people are very indisciplined when it comes to credit card spending, right? They'll use that as that's their own money rather than someone else's money. And they'll bank it all the way to the top and then have no money to basically pay it down, right? So,
and there's so many brokers, I hear it through the industry, you have to have a 20% deposit. If you hear a broker say that or LMI is bad, just run.
Yeah.
Run and go find a new broker. I'm telling you, there's a public service announcement, which is, that's such bad information. Imagine waiting to save for a 20% deposit. On average, the property market, you probably know this as well, the median increase is nearly $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
Nationally.
Yes. Yeah.
How on earth is anyone saving 20% week on week to try and get into the market? That's absurd.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're in the market and your property's doing that, you're laughing.
100%.
If you think about it, mate, we were doing some properties. By the time we got to settlement, they've been like a 5%, 6%. If they bought well, I'm like, mate, the LMI is 2%. You've actually made that back before you've even settled.
100%. I have this story for a particular client where they bought the first property, and then as the first property was settling, the broker was getting the finance for the first property and also refinancing the already settling property. I was like, Jesus. Yeah. And then once the second property was settling, he was refinancing basically the second property at the same time, saying, hey, actually the valuation has gone up. And so he actually ran the valuation before the settlement happened and was using that valuation to trigger it. So like there are brokers that are super smart in this space. And you're right, there are red flags when you hear brokers saying you need 20% deposit or, hey, you need to have a cheaper rate. You need to understand that they're not astute or cross-collateralization, right?
They're the equivalent of like your spruikers in your industry.
Yes. The property spookers.
They're the equivalent. Yeah.
100%.
They're ruling it for the rest of everyone.
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, no disrespect to anyone out there, right? Yeah, I understand that people do work in their self-interest, but understand when you are building someone else's wealth, it's important to consider all of these different scenarios. You can't just be of self-interest and self-choice that I'm going to write easiest loans and simplest loans and I'm going to F up someone else's portfolio in order to basically make my life easier, right? One of the things that I have the biggest complaint from mortgage brokers is they're not ready to put in the effort. And those who are there to put in the effort, people don't listen to them, right? because ultimately that's the risk and the balance that you would work with, right? So I'm going to throw in a curveball for you, my friend.
Go for it.
And this is more in relation. And again, it's a question that comes to everyone's mind as an investor. Okay. Now, if I have the ability to save money, let's say $1,000 a month, okay, or $2,000 a month, whatever that looks like, should I be saving that money right now, or should I just pay off my loans?
So let's play this out.
Let's say I can
property.
say, so I have an investment property, okay, and there is a loan against it. I have a principal place of residence and there is a loan against it. And together with that, I have an opportunity to save over and above an extra $2,000 or $3,000 a month.
Lovely. Yeah.
That $3,000 a month, should I just use that to pay my principal place of residence or my investment property, or should I just save it in a bank and basically let it be saved? What is the best case scenario? What is the rule of thumb?
I'd say put that money into your offset account. So don't go paying off your home loan as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Definitely don't pay that on your investment property. Put it into the offset account. It's still doing the exact same as being in your loan.
Yeah.
Yep. If you're ill-disciplined, I mean, I won't say they're ill-disciplined because they're saving $3,000 a month. So they're doing something right.
Yeah.
Create a separate offset account and just go savings funds.
Yeah.
So it's not your everyday account. It's a new offset account. Put all the money there.
Yeah.
And then talk to your broker about what your plans are. And I'll give you context. If your plans to then try and build a portfolio, you should never be using cash. You should be using equity for
100%.
a number of reasons. You pay down your home loan as quickly as possible. But if you're not going to be in that home, then you put it into the offset account. You can do what they call debt recycling as well. Now, I get surprised that people don't understand what this is. So I'll explain it.
Yeah.
And then if it's a concept you need to kind of double down on, we can talk about it later. So you take, let's say, for example, you have a home loan of $1 million and you're sitting on $50,000 of cash. Some people then take that cash of $50,000 and go and buy an investment property.
Yeah.
Worst thing to do.
Yeah.
Because you've still got $1 million loan, but you've paid off $50,000 worth of deductible debt on your investment property. So you take that $50K, you pay your mortgage down. So you actually pay the mortgage down. So your loan balance is now $950,000.
Yeah.
But you draw that $50,000 back out, and the pure act of drawing it back out now means you get to claim the interest on that $50,000 to then go and buy the next investment property. And when I put it through the bank's calculators, I can get some negative gearing on that $50,000 and the remainder of that investment property purchase as well.
Yeah. And a lot of owner occupiers and investors don't understand this. They think that you paying down the debt is basically them sticking their money into the bank, and they will never see the light of the day for that money. And so it's important that you explain and put it out there for people to understand that it's the debt recycling is basically you still get the same amount of money back. It's just going through the funnel, right? Basically, that's how I explain it.
It's just got to be that act of like paying the loan down, drawing it back out.
Yeah.
Because the bank and the HL will say you can only claim interest that's borrowed.
Yes.
Right? That's the rule. Any great accountant will tell you that.
100%.
And so it's making sure that you go through the right steps. So, and again, before you do it, engage your broker, engage your accountant, for example, to say this is the strategy. Are we all on
100%.
the same page here?
Yeah.
Because then you need the accounting record on it as well.
A lot of people make a mistake when you talk about the saving versus paying down the loan. They naturally default to thinking about, okay, which is my most highest rate loan? And I'm going to just basically pay that down, okay? And majority of the times, the highest paid loan or higher interest rate loan would be your investment loan, right?
Yeah.
And that's just a stupid thing to do, right? Because that is the deductible debt. And so if you pay it down, you are basically reducing your own deductions, right? So the first debt is the bad debt, which is your own principal place of residence, and putting it against the offset account and not putting the debt down is a lot smarter and safer choice, right? But naturally, people are still rate driven, right? They think about the rate and be like, oh, I'm paying an extra 0.5% there, and so I'll basically put it there, or I'll put it
that
there.
And also if the investment property, particularly as rates have gone up and the yields haven't kind of kept pace,
Yes.
well, the investment property is costing me and I'm out of pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I'll park the money there or pay the loan off, and then it brings the repayments down a little bit.
It's a cash flow problem, right? And that's how people don't think about it. It's a cash flow problem.
Yeah.
And so they need to answer the cash flow problem through an ROI solution.
Well, there's so many ways to answer the cash flow. PAYG, tax withholding variation on your
100%.
investment property. If I've just said a lot of gibberish there, speak to yourself, speak to your accountant, for example. If you're salaried and you're feeling the negative impact on cash flow on investment property, instead of waiting till the end of the year, you can then get that kind of brought forward on your pay cycle. And so you kind of, if you're, I don't know, $1,000 in the red, it's like $200 a week or something that's coming back to you.
Yeah.
And so that's just one way to, stop the cash flow. The second one, which as fixed rates have come down, look, I'm not a big advocate for fixed rates, but it has a place. Fixed rates are pretty attractive, and again, we're not making over repayments on a investment loan. You could choose to fix it for 1 year, and that rate could be lower. That helps to ease the cash flow on the investment property too.
Definitely.
So there's just, again, it's not a one size fits all approach. But there are options A, B, C, D for you. D being you do absolutely nothing. Yeah, but there's a few other options available to people as well.
The other thing that people don't think about is they might have had a loan for 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, but they've never recasted it, right? And so they can basically take it back to 25 or 30 years and bring the cash flow down as well. So yes, you'll pay over a long period interest rate or higher interest, but that's okay, right? Because you're managing the cash flow and you're using that money to
and the fact is, we're not going to have 30 years. Like if you're investing in property and you're doing
100%,
it well, you're not going to have a 30-year loan term, because at some point you're going to extinguish that debt. You're going to sell a property, come into a bit of windfall on cash. You're going to upgrade your home. So no one's having the loan for 30 years, and I pity the people that do have 30-year loan terms, right? I genuinely think it's a bad way to live. Yeah. Having the 30-year loan terms, the loans are simply, opportunities to then get ahead, clear the debt at some point when you've come out of that accumulation phase and you're in the pay down phase as well. Yeah. Close the loans off. But in the meantime, you've kind of found ways to maximize your borrowing capacity on the way through.
Definitely. If I bring this all together, final golden words, Aaron, from you for investors who are rate focused. Just plain blank.
I feel, I hear you. I feel for you, but there's a better way to invest. Yeah, there's a better way. And I think if you can assemble your dream team, and this is not a plug for me, find a great broker. Yeah. Find a strategic, investment savvy mortgage broker who's bought properties, who's helping their clients on the way through. They're worth their weight in gold to you.
100%.
And you build your team, build your buyer's agent, build your planner, build your accountant, and get them on the same page. Because everyone will see the world through their lens and their perspective, not knowing what the implications could be for someone else. And try and figure out what you're trying to optimize your portfolio for. So when we're setting the loan up, it's like, right, instead of taking out one deposit, can we split that deposit for 2 properties? And now in the market with 2 properties, yes, LMI across the 2, but we're in 2 growth locations, mate. And then those 2 properties can then get deposits for the next 2. And it's like you're in the market
100%
with an accelerator in 6, and you're in 6 gear. Like that's what you want.
100%. Spoken like a true warrior. Where do people find you, Aaron?
So if you check us out online, Atelier Wealth, jump on our website. You get to know who's who in the team there as well. I've got my book, The Happy Home Loan Handbook.
Yes.
And I think that really...
Talk to me a bit about the book. We forgot to talk about the book.
That's all right. I'm learning to plug it a little bit. Look, I could jump on a call with someone like you as a first home buyer. Yeah. I'll tell you everything. 2 minutes later, you won't remember it. Yeah. Right. Whereas reading or watching a video or doing something is a bit more engaging, a bit way to remember a little bit more and reference back as well. So to me...
And we spoke about home loans being bad debt. It's not, right? Like, in all honesty, a home is security, a home is stability, a home is a place to find work, a home is a place to put down your roots and raise your family. Yeah. Why is that considered bad debt in the IRC from a financial perspective? But it's the best debt I've ever had. Yeah, best debt I've ever had, because you're using that towards growth of your property. But I having like my family, if I somebody to call home, and I'm in part of an awesome neighborhood and we're not renting. And so to me, I'm like, I love my home loan. And I'm just trying to get people to understand that a home loan can be happy in that sense, but also really unpacks like how to get your loan approved, how to buy your home, and how to get on with life. And that's the 3 parts of the book, and bring that together from years of helping people get into the market and person doing ourselves and our journey too. I feel like if that's something that you're kind of at the crossroads and trying to enter the market, it's just another helpful resource.
And where they find your book?
You should be able to order a copy through our website. So to jump on there, for listeners like here, we'll give a free copy. So if they reach out saying, look, I want a copy of the book, I'll give a free copy, because that's what the book's not there to earn you money. The book's there to share the knowledge around.
Thank you very much. And for viewers and listeners, if you have stories about your investing journey as to how did you go around going from a mediocre investor to a high net worth investor, please do share it on our socials. Thank you for listening to us today. Take care, keep smiling, keep investing. This is Moss and Eric checking out. Adios.